lot of times, and a couple of you guys have heard me speak before, I don't know if I'm going to get through all of the stuff, because sometimes these things go in other directions, right? And I say that in a great way because there's a lot of organic conversations that take place when we start engaging each other. And we're going to have some video that I would love to know what your perspective is on, so we can all learn from each other and ask some good pointed questions along the way. So there's going to be some interesting things. I usually, and if we can't do it all here, we can do it in some sidebar conversations afterwards. You grab me while I'm here. I'm available through Sunday. Grab me. That's why we came here, to help you guys and for me to learn as well. Okay. I would like to start this thing with, are you guarding a cement slab? This was an email story I got from our assistant GM about a year ago, and it hit me pretty hard, and it made me understand some of the challenges that I currently have in my current position, coordinator of instruction, and that I think back at my younger years as a coach when I started out in 1999 and how my thinking was then. So the story goes like this. There was a barracks, an army barracks, and at this barracks, this commander came and took over, and he noticed that there was this, every night there was a cement slab in the center of the, what do you call it, the army base, okay? And they had a guards team of 4 guys guarding this slab every night, round the clock, every night. And so then a new commander came in, and one of the things that he did was he would come in and look at things and examine them and say, you know, why do we do these things? Why do we do things this way? And so when he asked someone, why are we guarding this cement slab? What's going on? He asked the team of 4 guards. They said something to the effect of, you know, it's part of a tradition. This is what we do, and our commander has ordered us to do this. This is what we do. Well, that wasn't a good enough answer, so this commander goes to his archives, and he starts investigating, and he finds the report about this cement slab. And the slab was built so they could have special, you know, events on them, and bands and this kind of thing. So he goes and he finds this document. And the story said that the reason it was ordered to be guarded was when this thing was built and laid, little animals would run across it every night, leave their footprints, and then have to fix the slab the next day, and it kept happening over and over again. So the commander ordered someone to guard this thing around the clock. 40 years later, they're still guarding the slab. And they didn't even know why. Okay? So when I read the story, I think about how many slabs we're guarding in our own lives. But let's look at baseball, right? In professional baseball, right? How many guys are not learners? How many guys are into tradition rather than the truth, right? So I think about my job is to try to change people in the way they think. Not necessarily what they do, just to how they look at things a little bit differently, all right, and learn some things, right? So one of the things in professional baseball, I realize there's a lot of guys guarding slabs. There's a lot of guys guarding their cement slabs. We just do, this is what we do, man. It's what I've always done. It works. This is what we do, okay? So that story, it sticks with me. I say it all the time. I say it with young coaches when I talk to them and try to get them to open their minds a little bit and try new things. So anyway, let's get into this. Foundation of all, I had a great conversation today with Paul. Deeply intelligent, years of experience in breaking down the game knowledge. And the number one thing, and we talked about it, the number one theme of the day was, you know, it doesn't really matter what you know, it's about building a relationship first. And I also had a conversation with Patrick earlier in the day about how important the relationship is, all right? Once they figure out that you got their back, it's on, all right? Now you got a student, all right, and then be consistent with it. But the relationship, and there's a purpose, I mean, I put it there because it's the thing that drives the train, right? Do you want to perform well or feel good? Oops. So some of the training things that I'm trying to push on field are different. All right. Some of them are, some of them just low-hanging fruit that no one cares to try. Some of them are very different. All right. But one of the most important things for me is, number one, I educate my staff and my coaches as to why we're doing this. What's behind this? All right, so the unknown is eliminated. There's no fear there. All right, this works. This is science. It works. Trust it, right? We've done some good things. With players, I always frame it like this. Guys, do you want to perform well, or do you want to feel good? I want to perform. Okay. With that said, it's not going to be clean every day in practice. It's not going to be feel-good BP. It's not going to be all feel-good, 5 at me, 5 to my right, 5 to my left, throw a nice clean bullpen. It's not going to be clean, because learning ain't clean. All right? So I educate the players on all some different concepts, some motor learning stuff, whenever we introduce a new type of training. And what I found is, the more they know, the more buy-in you got. Okay? Huge piece. What is motor learning? Sexy word. Motor learning, sexy 2 words, for how we acquire skills. All right? And it's from my perspective that baseball lags behind a little bit in terms of on-field training and preparing guys for games. Okay? Transfer. Once we acquire skills, all right, what kind of retention do we have from training that allows us to let those skills out, transfer into the game? Okay, and that's what we're gonna try and hit next couple days. All right. All right. Low-hanging fruit. Autonomy. Compared today to 30 years ago, right? And this is another interesting conversation I had today with Paul. 30 years ago, the game was ours, right? It was, you practiced on your own, you did stuff on your own, you played sandlot, you came up with rules, came up with different rules and constraints, and problem solving, and it was amazing what a learning-rich environment it was, right? So then the pendulum in the game was your game. So I think back at my first coach was my dad and my brothers, right? We never talked about the swing or delivery. We always talked about strategy and how to beat the other team's ass. And which is, we keep score, right? I mean, so we got to figure out how to score more runs than the other club and how to, stop that other team from scoring runs. So that really was the game that I grew up in, which I love that. Wasn't perfect, but the game was different. It was our game. We called our own game. We ran. We did hit and runs on our own. We had our own signs on the bases. It was a little different. Pendulum swings the other way. We're the game where we got like pitching and delivery coaches and swing coaches that have taken over and put the attention towards those two skills. The skill of throwing and the skill of swinging, as opposed to the art of pitching and the art of hitting, right? I believe there's a spot for both, and we blend it, okay? So part of my job, too, is I don't want to create codependent players who are like, how's that swing? I gotta get it. I want them to figure out how, right? So there's a lot of ways of doing that, and we talk about it in the training. But for me personally, this is a quest. For my coaches, it's like parenting. It's hard to watch a kid fail and fall down and all that kind of stuff. It's hard, but you got to let it happen for them to learn, right? So to educate our coaches into being mature enough to walk away from a bad delivery or a bad swing sometimes and let it get out of their way, okay? And let them figure it out or ask questions, better yet, all right? So that, what I'm talking about with questions, is talking about collaboration. The collaboration between you and your staff, and you and your players. This is not your career, it's his career, and you're here to help him, right? So it becomes a collaboration, and the more you collaborate and ask questions, the more it becomes his. The more it becomes his, the more focused and intent he has in his work. It's his game. It's his. It's his ideas, right? So that said, the collaborative piece, essentially, I'm not interested in creating and removing mountains. We want to create guys that can climb mountains, not remove the damn mountains. All right. So we're looking for guys that are problem solvers, baseball players. Okay, and that's a part of it. The last piece, rent versus own. It's a simple analogy. My first car, Chevy Chevette, rusted out. It was nasty. And I loved it because it was mine. I took care of it, and it got me home the very last time. It actually died at home, so it was great. It was a perfect ending. But it was mine. I took care of it. And you think about how you take care of a rental. I rent cars all the time. Trust me, I do not take care of my rentals the way I took care of my own ride. Okay? And that's the difference between it being his own career, his ideas, his process, and not yours as a coach controlling that, all right? Get out of the way and let it happen a lot of times. Autonomy is a huge, simple way. Parenting 101. All right, variety. Repetition without repetition in the work is really important, all right? I'm going to show a little video here. You're going to click that. Some of you may have seen this.
Groundhog time. 1,000 people freezing their butts off waiting to worship a rat.
Weatherman Bill Connors is spending the day in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania.
Phil? Ned! Ned Ryerson, I did the whistling belly button trick at the high school talent show. Bing! Bing!
But Phil's about to find out he's not just stuck in Punxsutawney.
Will you be checking out today, Mr. Connors?
Chance of departure today, 100%.
He's stuck
Groundhog Day!
in Groundhog Day.
I'm reliving the same day over and over. Phil? Ned Ryerson? Bing! Do you ever have deja vu, Mrs. Lancaster?
I don't think so, but I could check with the kitchen.
Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again?
At first, he was a little anxious.
Phil? What?
Will you be checking out today, Mr. Connors?
I'd say the chance of departure is 80%.
All right. Look, this movie is actually kind of a heavy, deeper movie than this. If you watch this over and over again, it's a very deep movie, okay? But I don't want you to go too deep with this. I just want you to know that you will go crazy as a player if you're given the same routine every day. And in pro ball, I hear it all the time. It's part of his routine. He does his routine. He does his routine. It's all about routine. Hate it. I'm good with blocks of time being similar of the day. As you get ready, your body and mind gets ready for the 7 o'clock. But that doesn't really allow you to adapt either, because the game is so crazy and random. It's not neat in a routine, you know? And then the routine breeds craziness. And then if within the routine you're doing the same things, trust me when I tell you this, they aren't learning. Okay, it becomes rehearsal. If they're not learning anymore, it's not going to happen that way. Okay? So I got repetition without repetition from the Randy Sullivan did a skill acquisition summit recently, and I love that phrase. Let that play over and over in your head. Okay? A lot of reps without repetition. Boom. A lot of learning. Okay? All right. Don't let it be Groundhog Day. A lot of you guys know that I'm a big t-shirt guy. I love t-shirts and messages. In fact, you see this Japanese writing up here. Some of you guys have seen this before. It means Kaizen, the notion of getting 1/10 of 1% better every day, right? Self-improvement. Just get a little bit better every day. Stretch it a little bit, right? I love that so much I had a t-shirt made. Kaizen t-shirt was badass, a pirate, gold on a t-shirt, right? Had like 2 dozen made. And I was so fired up about it because I was always trying to chase perfection, man, and that's disappointing all the time. And this thing freed me up. So I was like, you know what, I like this a lot, man. I just want to get a little bit better every day and learn from mistakes. Okay, boom. So I make a t-shirt, And I gave it, and my farm director said, hey, let me have one of those. Let's score one of those. So we have a meeting, and it was an org meeting, and he's sitting up there, Larry Broadway. He's sitting up there, he's wearing a Kaizen shirt. And so we got a Japanese strength guy, big league guy. And so before the meeting starts, he goes, why are you wearing a shirt that says Japanese? So I Googled up the wrong thing. I don't know how the wrong thing got on the shirt, but I wrote Japanese in Japanese. It wasn't even Kaizen. But I told everyone, I got 24 of these, say it's Kaizen, all right? All right, let's get off of that. So respect the rep. The story of this year was respect the rep. And I got a chance to jump back in the dugout this summer. And I managed our rookie club. And it was a ton of fun. And a lot, like we have Olympics, every Wednesday we have a Camp Olympics, doing different, competitions and scoring. And we have this one competition we call a wipeout. And you get all corners and middles and you throw them out at shortstop. And you hit them a ground ball. And they have to field the ball cleanly and replace their feet one time and throw a strike to first base. The first baseman was not allowed to go outside of his range. Anything in the dirt? Nope. It's got to be right here. Boom, boom. This is his target. And it's got to be fielded and one replaced. Because that is the game, right? So some of the ground balls are not fair either. The game's not fair. Some of them are nasty. Some of them are routine. Okay, so we boil it down. We have two infielders. One of them was Gift Nagope's brother, Victor. Gift is a gifted infielder. But anyway, they're going back and forth, and there's nothing like seeing the focus and intent of two guys competing, right? Whether it's in a game, it's awesome, right? You see it in their eyes. Well, all of a sudden, one of the players feels the ball, and you just watch him. He lost his intent, he lost his focus, he caught the ball, didn't quite get a handle, throws it away. We bring everyone together, get some feedback from the guys. Hey guys, what'd you think? What'd you learn? What'd you like? Talk about it. Kyron Madison, who is our short season A manager, he and I talked after the players left. He goes, he didn't respect the rep. That's what happened. It had nothing to do. It was a clean hop. He just didn't respect the rep. And I go, boom. I like that. Immediately my thought went to respect the rep. How can I get players to respect every rep? Respect more reps, better transfer. Better focus and intent on a rep, better learning, better transfer. It's the game, right? Go backwards. As a coach, do we respect every rep? How can we respect every rep? We're going to hit both these things. But the first thing as a coach, this is our responsibility to recognize and create an environment that causes our players to respect reps. Right? How do you do that? Respect the prep. So we talk about respecting the prep. Preparation is a huge piece as a coach. We talk about this process of prepare, execute, review, prepare, execute, review, prepare, execute, review. It never ends. Okay? And each is dependent upon the next. So the prepare piece, okay, how we prepare for our preparation, preparing to prepare, as we call it, is huge. From what's the coach's role, where we want these balls hit, what are we doing, what decision-making process are we working on, who are we working on individually, as collectively, as a group. How are we preparing for a preparation, right? So I was like, Kyron's like, man, you're going a little deep. And I'm like, hey, I like it. Sounds like a t-shirt too, man. I feel a t-shirt coming on, And I said, the prep piece, this is way more important for us than it is for the players, because we drive the train. We set the tone. We're the thermostats of this thing, right? You guys understand that. So, respecting the prep, the analogy I use with coaches, younger coaches, and I go to the DR and we bounce around, I say, look, if you're a coach and you're not prepared, it's like going out and trying to recognize and see everything. You don't see anything, right? We used to play this game, growing up as a kid. We'd be driving, and we'd say, count cars. All right, I got red, you got blue, and you got green. All of a sudden, you're like, man, I didn't know there's so many red cars. But I had to focus, and And I was counting, I was locked in, and I was seeing what I needed to see. You know, I see a lot of young coaches, and I say a lot of young coaches, I was one of those guys that was just out there like this. Seat of my pants. Hey, yeah, oh, yeah, I got it. I was managing too, which is unbelievable. But the prep is a huge piece of this. How can we make them respect the rep? Low-hanging fruit. Joey Cora, our big league third base coach, awesome coach. This is what he's great at. Obviously a great baseball mind, disciplined, well-prepared guy. When he brings guys together for work and preparing them, he simply tells them, this is the expectation, this is what we're going to do, and this is what it's going to look like. Let's go. It's very serious now. You know, big league camp, I'm in there. I mean, it's very serious session going on. Joey sets the thermostat. And when I see, 10-year veterans in the big leagues laying out for balls on a ground ball routine, I go, that's pretty good. All right? That's very simple. We take infield, outfield, always bring guys together. Hey, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be very professional. We're going to handle the baseball because that's what we do. We're going to throw the ball. We're going to throw strikes. We're going to have a little focus and intent on every rep. We're going to have good positive energy. We're going to pull for each other. Let's go. Boom. Run to your positions. Set the thermostat. Very simple. It has nothing to do with science. Okay? Focus their mind. Joey's unbelievable at that. Challenge. Here's my litmus test. I always tell coaches, hey, if I look out and I see you guys doing a drill and I think I can do it, it ain't good. I'm just telling you. If I was a horse, they would shoot me. I got flat tire, I got hips, I got back. If I feel like, I think I could do that, it's not good, I'm telling you. That's a litmus test for me. If they ain't challenged, this is what you got. I'm jumping ahead, but this is what you got. Gift Nagope, he was the #1 rated defender in all professional baseball, major league, minor league. And he got to the big leagues, a South African kid. He ended up getting traded over. Blue Jays, I think, got him. Don't know where, but he's the best defender I've seen. He's the best defender I've seen. And it is special. So, they used to say, he doesn't like to work, right? He doesn't like to work. He's lazy, man. And I go, man, So, I remember doing a defensive session with Gift. We were in AA. I was in a AA club. He was with Princey, Tommy Prince. And so I meet with Princey, and he's talking about what he's going to do with him. And I say, hey, man, you going to stretch him a little bit today? Let's have some fun, And so let me tell you something. It was a one-on-one is hard, okay, when you're getting stretched, and it's, variability within that thing with throws. And it was so fun. It was like watching Secretariat run a race. He's a horse, okay? It was an unbelievable thoroughbred horse, okay? A bad one for the room, probably. It was like watching Larry Bird. Nah, that's not a good one either. All right. He was unbelievable. He jacked some balls up. Is this going to be out on the internet? Because every once in a while I feel an F-bomb flying through my head. I just want to be safe. Can you throw that out of there if it happens? Okay. Thank you. All right. So Gift has a great session, right? And so then I break out some handballs. I got some handball stuff that I'll hit later. These are little. They're not racquetballs. A little small, a little harder, a little nastier, faster. They're very unpredictable at times. And so then he was like unleashed. And so it was such a learning spot for me. And I said, if I'm a math professor at MIT, and as part-time, I got to go teach addition, or I have to do these addition problems for a week straight, I think he would go nuts. Okay? I looked at this guy who's a defensive savant. You can't hit 5 at him, 5 to his left, 5 to his right. It's going to look bad. He's just not into it. He doesn't care. He's not challenged. Stretch him. Challenge him. You want to create focus and intent and transfer? Challenge your players. Now, that said, sweet spot being 70 to 80%, I don't want to destroy a guy, and this is the art of coaching. Who can I get after a little bit more? Who needs a little more softer side, if you will? A little less failure, but failure, because they ain't learning if there's no mistakes. No mistakes, no learning. You're going to hear me say that a lot. The challenge piece is very easy. That comes down to knowing your players and your club too. What do they need individually? What do they need collectively? How much can they handle? I'm going to push it, all right? And as soon as the work on the field gets clean, give them more. Add on, add layers. As soon as it gets clean, they're done. They need more. All right, add challenge. Competition goes without saying. We had a great conversation this morning. Paul and I were talking about some competition, guys that compete well. As a young coach, 20 years ago, I would label guys, can't compete, he's this, he's soft, he's that. I had labeled them. Two things. That's a fixed mindset, number one. Number two, once you label someone, whatever he is, if you label him as he has a chance, you're coaching him different. He doesn't have a chance. He's soft. He doesn't compete. Once you label a guy, he's not getting your A game. Don't label him. Just get him better. What's his dot? Get him to his next dot. That's all you got to care about. Keep it simple. Labels, they hurt. They really do. All right? So the competition piece is another muscle to be built. Some guys compete better than others. They can perform their skill in a fire better. Great. Make a rock star out of him. Get him better. But the worst guy, the weakest link, you can grow him. You can get him better at anything. And if you look at competition as just another muscle to get better, then have it in your work, blend it in your work. Okay? They can become immune to a hostile environment the more they're in this fire. Trust me on that. All right? My one labeling story, I had managed 3 years. I went into the college game. Joe Martinez was a right-handed pitcher. He got the big leagues with San Francisco. Do you remember Joe at all?
A little bit.
He was a perfect player, college kid, athlete, stuff, student. You want him to marry your daughter. This kid was great personality. Okay, he didn't believe it yet. He just couldn't perform. And I remember watching him. We're playing, I was at Boston College. It was my first college gig. And I went to the mound. He was getting whacked around by like the 180th ranked club in the country. He was getting whacked. And I go out to the mound and I look and I see his leg like Elvis. You know, he's like shaking. I go, damn, my man is nervous, you know? But being really sensitive and having all the awareness of a good young coach, I said, hey man, let's go, you gotta compete, let's go. You know, the kid's so tight, kid's like, he just got worse from there, you know, I'm gonna yell at him, and that'll make him compete better, right? So, it didn't go well. He ended up getting removed from the game, and I personally went back to him probably 2 years ago as I was writing some articles, which brings about a ton of self-awareness. And his story popped in my head. We reconnected over, and I apologized to him over and over again. I said, man, I had no right to do that. So, and this goes to show you, I said, this guy doesn't compete, he's soft, and this is how good I was. He pitched in the big leagues 6 years later. He was a sophomore in college at the time. 6 years later, he's pitching in the big leagues. He's the guy that took a line drive off of Mike Cameron off the skull, and it sidetracked him, and he never really got back to where he needed to be. But I remember when I saw it happen for him and he matured and grew and believed, it was awesome to see. And I couldn't have been more wrong. Labeling is so wrong, it doesn't help anything. So if you're going to label someone, label them, hey man, you're my guy. Nicknames, positive nicknames, you're my bulldog. You know, Laurel Hershiser changed his career, he named my bulldog. I had first baseman this summer. He, you know, not a real good hitter. Okay. But he could pick everything at first base. And he saved our pitch counts. He saved our team. He saved our infield. Saved our game. Saved us. His name was Pickin' Patton. Everyone started calling him Pickin'. He made one error in 52 games. I mean, it's unbelievable. Right? So you want to label someone? Label him something that you think he is and can be. All right? They love it, man. And they will attach themselves to that. Believe it. All right. All right. Here we go. This is a 7-minute video. I'm probably going to bang it after 4. Some of you have seen this. Martijn Nijhoff, a good friend and mentor and now a colleague, showed me this video one time. There are so many coaching takeaways out of this thing. I want to ask you guys, when you're watching this, either write it down or keep it loaded up in your pocket. I want to ask you what you got. Give me one good takeaway that you're like, boom, okay. let's hit play on this.
Show you the video of what happened. I need to tell you the backstory. Like many 6-year-olds with a MacGyver mullet, I learned how to ride a bike when I was really young. I had learned a life skill, and I was really proud of it. Everything changed, though, when my friend Barney called me 25 years later. Where I work, the welders are geniuses, and they like to play jokes on the engineers. He had a challenge for me. He had built a special bicycle, and he wanted me to try to ride it. He had only changed one thing. When you turn the handlebar to the left, the wheel goes to the right. When you turn it to the right, the wheel goes to the left. I thought this would be easy, so I hopped on the bike ready to demonstrate how quickly I could conquer this.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Justin Salmon. First attempt riding the bicycle. Alright. So, the faster I go, the better. Yeah.
I couldn't do it. You can see that I'm laughing, but I'm actually really frustrated. In this moment, I had a really deep revelation. My thinking was in a rut. This bike revealed a very deep truth to me. I had the knowledge of how to operate the bike, but I did not have the understanding. Therefore, knowledge is not understanding. Look, I know what you're probably thinking. Destin's probably just an uncoordinated engineer and can't do it. But that's not the case at all. The algorithm that's associated with riding a bike in your brain is just that complicated. Think about it. Downwards force on the pedals, leaning your whole body, pulling and pushing the handlebars, gyroscopic precession in the wheels. Every single force is part of this algorithm. And if you change any one part, it affects the entire control system. I do not make definitive statements that often, but I'm telling you right now, you cannot ride this bicycle. You might think you can, but you can't. I know this because I'm often asked to speak at universities and conferences, and I take the bike with me. It's always the same. People think they're going to try some trick or they're just going to power through it. It doesn't work. Your brain cannot handle this. For instance, this guy, I offered him $200 just to ride this bike 10 feet across the stage. Everybody thought he could do it.
No, you didn't understand. You didn't understand. So, this way. Alright, so, whenever you're ready. Go ahead. No, you have to keep your feet on. Alright, let's see. Here we go. Like you gotta start rolling at least. And go. Give up.
Perfect.
Go ahead. This is how it starts. Look at this.
Got
This is
son,
such a
same
big deal. Get up, you got it. Did you
Put your
see
mouth
his
up,
brain
it's
get
right
it? So he, in, how many weeks have we been doing this? 2 weeks? In 2 weeks, he did something that took me 8 months to do, which demonstrates that a child has more neuroplasticity, am I even saying that right, than an adult.
It's clear from this experiment that children have a much more plastic brain than adults. That's why the best time to learn a language is when you're a young child.
Alright, today's bike vlog. I can ride smooth, I can ride fast. I'm thinking the experiment is over. Okay, now I'm in Amsterdam, a city that has more bicycles than people. The question is, can I ride a normal bike now? I mean, I've spent all this time unlearning how to ride a bike. If I go back and try to ride a normal one, will my brain mess up? So I've tweeted a Smarter Everyday meetup, if you will, and I'm going to see if somebody brings a bicycle, and I'm going to try to ride a normal bike. It's backwards, it's backwards.
This was one of the most frustrating moments of my life. I had ridden a normal bike since I was 6, but in this moment, I couldn't do it anymore. I had set out to prove that I could free my brain from a cognitive bias. But at this point, I'm pretty sure that all I've proved is that I could only redesignate that bias.
So what you're not seeing is just a group of people here looking at me, looking at the strange American that can't ride a bike because they think I'm dumb. But I'm actually 2 levels deep into this because I've learned and unlearned. Alright.
After 20 minutes of making a fool out of myself, suddenly my brain clicked back into the old algorithm. I can't explain it, but it happened in a very specific moment.
I got it. I'm back. Oh, click. Hold it, click. I got it. Okay, there it is. There's the moment. Okay, I can ride a bike.
All right. So, go backwards. I'll get it. Let's see here. Oh, sorry. All right. What do you guys have on that video? Anyone? Volunteer what you have. What do you got out?
can't really tell your brain to do it because it happens too fast when you learn it the first time. It's more, that's why they say it's buried so deep. And you can see when he goes back on the normal bicycle afterwards, it's not like he can tell his brain to do it the right way. At some point, he just gets back to the information that is buried very deep. It just comes out forward again.
Awesome. What else? I love that. What else you guys see?
Kids learn faster than adults.
Kids learn at an exponential rate, don't they? I mean, obviously, that's for a number of reasons. He talked about neuroplasticity as being one of them. Yes, they have a lot less habits to overcome as well. Like having no habits is better than having bad habits. All right, so to train those things, they learn very quickly. The big thing about kids and learning fast, though, when I watch, they don't care about looking foolish either. The environment is such that they learn new languages and they just do stuff, and it's unbelievable how quickly they learn. They don't care. Okay, part of that is like we get the joy of learning coached out of us or learned out of us somehow with that. We're so afraid, of looking foolish, all right? But, in order to make change, you got to look foolish. What else you got from that video?
We think too much. We go to the bike and then we think, oh, we know how it works. But it doesn't.
Yeah.
So we go through the process all the time.
So we think too much would be being internal, right? Instead of trying to let it happen. How would it be to play this game thinking too much? But most of you guys have suffered in this game, right? When you're thinking too much. Isn't it hard? It's hard anyway. That's a great observation. I love it. What do you got, Matt?
It shows the power of habits, of repetition, how it's ingrained in the circuits of your brain. Right?
Yeah.
Hard it is to get there.
It is. Habits become empowered or very powerful. I think Coyle's a big guy talking about the myelin and the buildup of habits. The Power of Habit's another great read, though. You sound like you're onto that. Power of Habit. It's a very interesting read on the science of habits. And so what you just saw was him. So he had to learn a new move from the old move. He had to learn a new move, and then he had to. And so you can overcome your default move by learning a new move. But if you don't continue to practice that new move, the default will take over again, right? That now he learned the new move, then he had to go back and see if he could do the old move, and you saw it click for him. It's a click, and that's one of the cool parts of that video for me was seeing the mind-body connection happen. It's really cool to see. Tommy, what do you got?
Dave, I don't want to get you away from what you're going to talk about, but as I'm watching this right now, I'm thinking to myself, I taught writing for 33 years, and I did a lot of right brain writing. Is there anything in the research that you've come across with this that deals with right brain versus left brain, as far as that learning that technique goes?
You know what? I don't have an answer for that. I'm sure there is. If you have a question like that, I'm sure there's research done on that. But when I watched this with a couple of my mentors, we talked about. Here's what we talked about. The thing that jumped out at me, number one, is, man, when we ask guys to make changes in our game, and we don't have patience, first of all, when you don't have patience, it's all about you. When you have patience, it's all about him. Have patience. Patience, man. I learned one thing from this video, it's patience. Fill your patience. It's endless. You cannot have enough of it, okay? And understand that game, the baseball game, okay, you're making moves, there's information processed, and then you have to do athletic things, right? So you're playing chess, and then having to be athletic while playing chess. That's hard, man. Chess is hard. I got to know what my thing, and I got information based on his movement. The game is that, all right? Based on the scoreboard, speed of the runner, speed of the ball, who's on the mound, what's his movement. Solving problems is unbelievable, and let's be athletic, by the way. That's a lot. This was a very simple move. Instead, to go left, I want you to turn right. You want to go right? Turn left. How simple is that? That is a simple move. But the mind and the body have to connect on that. So the mind-body connection is big. And that's what I talked about earlier. When you see learning going on, it gets ugly. Okay? They are figuring it out. And then it gets clean. They solve the problem, and they need more problems to solve. Okay? Very good video. Was it one, did I have one more on this?
Can I add, Tom, I think maybe, and one takeaway I would add is that right-brain people tend to want to learn things sequentially. Left-brain people want to learn things holistically, and we'll go forward, we'll go backwards. I'm a very, well, I should say it's the opposite. Okay, it's the right-brain people that want to do things holistically. Left are very sequential. I will tend to read books from the back, and then I'll go to the middle, and then I might go back, and then I go to the front, and it's just how I learn. Okay, if I see something I like, I'll skip forward, backwards. So I think that to add what you were saying is learning's not linear. It is messy. It can be ugly, but you got to give people the time and the ability to learn it in their own way sometimes.
And I think that's something we can talk about at the Q&A.
Yeah.
Too.
It's funny how frustrated it is once you've learned a certain thing. For instance, if it wasn't riding a bike, but like a swing.
Yeah.
If your little league coach taught you the wrong way, someone else is teaching you it in a different way.
Yes.
How frustrated it is.
Yes. And intellectually, players understand. It's the connection between mind and the body understanding to do things. They understand, they're smart. And I know this because I always ask the feedback of the group, and it's amazing what they see and learn. It's amazing. But some of them just can't do it yet. It hasn't clicked yet. Right? And it's not a sign of lack of intelligence. It's just it hasn't connected. It hasn't clicked. Okay? Patience is huge. Training to the truth. It's one of my favorite videos.
All right, gang, we're done with the museums. Now it's time to head out to the Dynamo shooting range where we're going to hook up with Andre and the Russian Special Forces guys. Now, while Andre gets geared up, some of the Russian SF guys are going to take me through their first drill. All right, TAC TV fans, I'm out here on the range with one of the FSB Alpha team members, and he's going to take us through a competence drill they run their new operators through. If you don't mind, tell us the overall concept behind this exercise.
Основная идея этого упражнения заключается в том, что мы хотим подготовить нашего сотрудника к тому, что он будет находиться под огнем. Возможно, он будет ранен, возможно, пули будут прилетать в его боеспособность. Пока он стоит на ногах, он должен быть в состоянии стрелять в ответ, возвращать огонь. Стрелять в ответ быстро и точно.
Now, this is normally a drill that's done at fairly close ranges with handguns.
Да, мы делаем его из пистолета, потому что независимо от оружия, принцип остается неизменным.
And then the ammunition that is normally used is standard full metal jacket ball ammunition.
Да, зачастую это обычный боеприпас.
I know we're looking forward to the drill. Stand by. Essentially a very close range competence drill with a handgun. The individual walks into the scene, pivots, and engages an individual probably 3 to 4 yards away in his hard plate, in his body armor. That individual then draws and shoots a target right by the head of the bad guy, simulating headshots when the individual just engaged him. Although I understand the concept behind this drill, in my opinion, the risks involved are just too great. I would never recommend doing this in the real world. Remember, we're in Russia. This is their country, their rules. It's not something I would ever do in the United States, but then again, we're not in the
That keeps going, and they actually add stress to this drill. Okay, they got guys in their face screaming, and they're supposed to be, drilling that guy. But just I don't want to kill the thing. So, train to the truth. Ultimately, when we're talking about training to the truth being the speed of the game. The closer that we can get to the speed of the game in our training, the better off they will be. All right, you will get more of what you train. All right, so training to the truth. All right, if the speed of the game is here, can we take our training to here? Funny story. Baseball's famous for crawling and walking and then being pissed off because we can't run at 7 o'clock. God! God, but you're just not getting it, man. That 40-mile-an-hour BP and those 5 ground balls right at him. I was really expecting that really to turn things around for us. But anyway, I'm not exaggerating all that much. That's why it's funny, okay? So I have a passion for creating this, training to the truth, right? One of the things, that threw me off right there, that got me. I get 10? Okay. So one of the things that the story, we were at a coordinator meeting. Talk about guarding slabs. My job is to see things and, add some color and some spices, and make the soup better, right? So the hitting guy is talking about BP and some different things. And I just throw one simple thing out. I go, hey, low-hanging fruit, man. Can we hit with no turtle? I mean, and helmets, because we do in the game. It's just, it feels so different. They only get 4 at-bats with the helmet, and they never hit one on. And turtle, let's get rid of the turtle. Oh my God. Safety, it's this. Yeah, but we're throwing 40 in the middle. I mean, no one's fouling stuff off from BP. Well, where am I going to watch? Well, you can put a screen up. You can be more than 4 feet away from your hitter, so he doesn't feel so judged every swing. Not a bad thing, right? Right? And then we can throw 2 mats in to have a little front-back adjust. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So then we show the video of the bullets flying by guys' heads, and some guy, I'll never forget this. One of the other coordinators goes, I think we're good with no turtle. So everyone goes like this the moment you bring up a fresh idea. Don't start bringing them, man. Just keep bringing them, okay? Don't worry about it. Everyone's got detractors. All right. Training to the truth. How about training beyond the truth? All right? So talent code and the futsal idea. Get my head spinning. I've been using those handballs, racquetballs, tennis balls for building hop reading with infielders at beyond the speed that they see them in the game. And then it's a different object. The brain has to identify as a different. It's very good for instinctual hop reading, feet, and athleticism. Okay? On the left, well, we did this thing. I went down to the DR and I got with the head of the academy and said, hey, let's shrink the field down like the futsal, the soccer thing where they play soccer on a shrunken down field where their skills are heightened and you have to be, quicker and do all this thing, think process quicker. So we played with 70-foot bases and we went live bunt defense. And there were a lot of things that came out of this that was a surprise to me. And one of them was the controlling of the running game by the pitchers and the infielders. They had to do it so much more aggressively and make quicker decisions. The bunting had to be more accurate. Everyone had to be better. And so go ahead and click play on the left. It's a little chaotic. That's all right. See the catcher panic and call 3. Got to reset through it first. That's Mendy trying to create a little more stress. Just going in to get the picture of the defensive play. All right, you can pause that. All right, that's the first example. It was very ugly at times. Now, how can you add on to this even? So the coach who's throwing it for about 45 feet, he's synced up with the pitcher during this bunt defensive drill. So he reads the guy. If it's a pick, the pitcher has a ball in his hand, he picks. If you freeze him up to pitch, boom, he pitches, and everything happens very quickly. The challenge can then add on where you start throwing 2-pitch mix to the hitter, calling balls and strikes and challenging him there, not just throwing cookies down the middle, right? So then he's developing yes, yes, no mentality at the plate, which not every pitch is a strike in the game and not every pitch is a heater you're bunting, right? So it's training more to the truth. In fact, you can go beyond. I mean, you can get reaction time at 95. Like Mendy's got a good, strong arm, and if he gives you a good leg lift and a boom, it could be the reaction time at 97, 98. Depends what you want, all right? Click on the right. That's an infielder. Do a little progression work with a young infielder. I've actually eliminated the first part of it, but those are handballs. He's hop reading, and I'm hitting him with a tennis racket. That gradually increases speed and intensity until he screws it up.
Okay, those balls, what exactly do they do?
Okay, oh man, I left them in the room. I brought some with me. I want to show you.
Balls, like they have little dimples?
No, they're handballs. They're perfectly round. They're handballs, not racquetballs.
They're not the handballs.
Yeah, I know,
that
I know.
You guys.
Yeah, no, they're smaller than a racquetball.
Yeah.
A little heavier and a little harder. Okay.
Okay.
And a little nastier. So I use those racquetballs and tennis balls.
What exactly do they do though?
So they're very, very active. They're very live.
They don't
They're
bounce
very
regularly. Is what you're
They do, but they pick up speed.
Oh,
It's all I can say is it's nasty. Now when you get on dirt, that's on turf. When you get on dirt, it gets even nastier. And so it creates they have to sync up the ball and read hops, right, and make adjustments to those things and get their body in a spot to make a decision. You also have to have soft hands. Let the ball teach. So I always tell you guys just let the ball teach. Just get out of the way. Just challenge them. Let the ball teach. And they love it. We played competitions with those handballs. It was a big league camp this year. All right. Haven't got it to Joey. Joey's not on it yet. But the pitching side of things, we're trying to be creating more athletic defensive pitchers. We had it at a big league camp. The guys were doing it. And they loved it. All right. They loved it. So
it's not a problem. The bounce is different from.
So that's the whole thing. We're trying to get them to adapt and adjust as you have to our bounce is always predictable in a game. So when I talk about training beyond the truth, they have to process and make decisions a little bit quicker. They have less time. And it's even more unpredictable. So that when we slow the game down, go back to the speed of the game, it's a slower version than it was before. It's like lifting weights. You get those last 2 reps, okay, to get a little stronger. All right. So then when you go down in weight, it's like, well, this is easy. Okay. So basically, lifting weights for your processing. All right.
Do you see an increase in focus when you do that?
Big time. Talk about making a player respect the rep. It's unbelievable the amount of focus. All right. Get him in the gap. All right. See the spotter? You just brought up a great point. So the spotter, he's getting him to go beyond where he's at. If this is some of your player's ability, all right. If you can push him out into his uncomfort zone, all right, it's where he's learning. If you go beyond that, I don't have a whiteboard, but I would draw a line right here. This little colored area right in here, we call that the gap. The art of coaching is getting them in the gap. How much and how often. All right? The handball stuff, I'll tell you what, it's very amazing to watch how hard these guys are like, oh my God, that's so fast. And then 5 minutes into it, their brain has sped up, they're making good decisions, they're moving their feet better, it's crisper, it's unbelievable. All right? All right, so I always say get them in the gap and be a good spotter. Just as this guy, you push him to those last 2 reps to get stronger. The uncomfort zone, that's how you get better. All right? Do I have time for one or two more? Okay. All right, stress. Talk about stress building strength. This is where it comes to knowing your players and your team, how much they can handle, right? You guys ever hear of biosphere? It's this thing in New Mexico, and it's like a perfect thing, and the air is in the dirt, and the plants, and everything is perfect inside. Well, when they first did this, everything was great, except the one thing was they would plant trees, they would grow to a certain height and tip over. And they grow to a certain height and tip over. And so there were these really smart people who were trying to problem solve. And some of you guys probably heard me talk about this before. I love this analogy. The key is that there was no wind to stress the trees to grow deeper roots. Right? So the stress is necessary for these things to survive, right? And so if we can look in our perspective on stress sometimes as negative, if we can look at it as a positive, right, and have the players understand how it can make them better, I think that's huge. Keep educating them. We need to be the wind in their practice. All right? We need to put some stress in there. Stress could be, all right, you're making this pitch in the bullpen, the winning runs on third, 3-2 count, 3-hole hitter. Stress can be anything. It's simple. Stress can be, if you don't get this bunt down, you got to do 5 push-ups. Stress. Stress can be today's competition, wipeout, shortstop. Simple, all the time. Working it, competing, okay? Stress is a good thing. All right, just know the art of coaching, what they can handle, what they just are overwhelmed by. All right, expecting to teach. I have the title, or the authors in the title of this thing. It's a very interesting study, right? And I've taken this and I ran with it. Saw this several years ago. Did a study, sample size, pretty small, but it was on a group of golfers. And they had a control group where they said, hey, you're teaching putting tomorrow. The other group, you're not, they were just going to go out and practice. So the group that had to teach, or thought they were going to prepare and teach the class, actually performed much better and had better transfer into their games, okay? So I said, oh, that's interesting. So just the idea of expecting to teach created more transfer. So then, taking it further, so then I go to our motor learning guy, Andy Bass, I go, so do they actually do a study where they actually make them teach? He's like, no, well, not this particular one. I said, well, I don't need it. I'm in, right? So I take this, and it's a few pages, but if you want to take a picture of that, check it out. It's pretty interesting, all right? I have used the players to teach every single phase of the game, including our culture. I have coaches, how many times you hear that big league camp, that was a really good talk on bunt defense today. Well, too bad they didn't even, the players are like, they're not hearing it, man. It's lectures. They're not engaged. They are not hearing it. Plus, they know it. And if you don't think they know it, have them teach it. Now they're going to prepare, and then they're going to teach it. A little deeper learning going on, a little better transfer. I use our players all the time to teach the game to each other. All the time. Every day. I use the players to break down the game. I assign, hey, pitching guys, you got the pitching post game today. Then my bench guys over here, you got the infield play, you got outfield play, you got base running, and you got offense. All right, and you got base. This is what I've learned. Number one, they've learned a ton. Number two, I've learned more from the players than they've learned from me. It's amazing what they see. Going back to that mind-body thing, they're smart. It just hasn't clicked yet. They know bunt defense. They know cuts and relays. They know the art of pitching. They just can't execute it yet. It's hard to do it, right? So the amount of engagement have gotten from this simple thing. Now here's the thing. They don't have it all, so you fill in the cracks. So listening to a talking head all the time, they're teaching each other. It's a learning-rich environment. And then you're showing them, and you're giving them permission to learn. It's a learning environment. It's awesome. There's one thing you take out of here. Go ahead. Here's the thing, too. Let me give you an example. Guy can't, Alan Hansen. He's in a big league with San Francisco. Couldn't catch a pop-up. Wouldn't call for one. Coach is like, we got to do this pop-up priority again tomorrow. I'm like, hey, man, his skill's low. He doesn't have the confidence to call one. So let's go work on his skill. So 2 weeks later, when he got his confidence up, because his skill he was calling for every ball. So recognize, right? So he understood what a pop-up priority was. He just didn't have the skill. So you got to recognize where guys are at. And that's where he was. He was an 18-year-old kid from the DR. Okay? Players teaching players, man. It's tremendous. Creating transfer, random versus block training. Now we're digging a little deeper. If I read this, block practice is when an athlete performs or practices a single skill repeatedly. All right? Ground balls, fly balls, batting practice, your traditional stuff. Zero decision making. Random practice shakes things up and is unpredictable. The learner works on a number of skills in combination with each other and is forced to be engaged. Examples. Drop ball, ground balls, when you have a guy flipping ground balls, and the ground balls are being hit to infielders, and they don't know where their ball is going, and situations are being called out. It's random. It's more training to the truth stuff. They have to read and react instead of just go, right? Random batting practice, we're going to get into some of that later. Base running, drills, all random, all involve skill with decision making. The 15 seconds, right? I don't have time to hit the 15 seconds right now. We're gonna hit it later. All right? Then I'm up on time, right?
Yep.
Okay. We'll hit part 2, and we can hit some stuff with questions, but we're early. I get it.